Wink. Welcome back to the WINCLY. It is me, the managing editor, Nick Hausman, joined by Justin LaBar, as I am every Thursday at noon Eastern here on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel. Justin, thank you very much for coming back to chat the news of the week with me here on the WINCLY.
I always love to do this with you, Nick. You and only you.
Oh, me? Well, what am I? It's the holiday season. I guess it's a time for us all to be festive and have some love for each other. I wanted to send a happy holidays out there to everybody. Of course, we got a big, awesome show planned for you today. Of course, if you're watching us live here on the YouTube channel, you're going to get about a half hour, 45 minutes of news chatter here with Justin and I. But if you subscribe to Wrestling Inc. Audio over on iTunes, if you're listening to this as a podcast right now, you get the full WINCLY episode, which also includes some interviews and segments. We've got 2 big interviews for you here this week. So after this, if you're watching us live right now, thank you on YouTube. Go over, find us on iTunes so you can listen to these interviews. We have a nearly hour-long conversation with Bubba Ray Dudley, a.k.a. Bully Ray. We got real deep into his match, his I Quit match with Flip Gordon from Final Battle, and we talk a couple other things. I also chat with Ring of Honor television champion Jeff Cobb. Both interviews are great. A little bit of a Final Battle fallout episode here today on the WINCLY. So go give those a listen. Use the hashtag WINCLY over on Twitter if you want to leave any feedback. But Justin, big week for pro wrestling. Obviously we're going to get to what happened here with Raw and SmackDown, but TLC, Final Battle, were both this weekend. Did you get a chance to watch both of these programs?
I saw TLC. I did not watch Final Battle from start to finish live. I have seen, through the methods I've had going through and caught some of the highlighted clips of what seemed like a really good show from what I could see.
It was, that's the thing is this was the end of 2018. 2019 is going to be such a transitive year in pro wrestling. And here today, this past weekend to cap 2018, Ring of Honor went out there, put on what I thought was one of their best shows of the year. And WWE, I mean, the TLC main event was pretty good, but largely that show didn't give me it didn't grab me a whole lot. Justin, did you feel the same?
Yeah, same thing. There were some bright spots at TLC, but if I was to, try to rate the excitement from start to finish, it was not at a peak performance. And I think it goes back to, I know they've combined both rosters for all the pay-per-views now for WWE, but again, when you just look at these cards as you're doing predictions in advance of these shows, and you just look at like how many matches, how long it is, it's a struggle for anything to really stand out.
Yeah, and it was a real struggle this weekend on TLC to even get the stuff that they had built up for fans to buy into. In particular, that Dean Ambrose Seth Rollins match was really pretty heavily booed on the TLC card. It was also kind of in a weird semi-main event spot that I know was right after Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles before the TLC match. So that's kind of worth taking into consideration. But we were not the only ones who were upset about this. The fans, according to the Observer, Vince McMahon was apparently furious that this match did not go as well as planned. What to you, Justin? We haven't talked about this yet. Why to you did Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins not work at TLC?
Well, the layout of the match matched nothing of what or where I think we all believe that their story and their feud is. I mean, they used their colleague having to walk away from his job to battle cancer, and on that same night they used that emotion to pull the puppet string to execute a heel turn, which I'm still all for. I thought it was well done, and I'm sure, again, Roman, signed off on it, whatever. So you have this split of these two guys who, I mean, they've been pretty, I mean, other than when Rollins went heel, they've been so linked together since 2012, which is a long time in today's age. And they execute the split. Dean Ambrose kind of starting to reinvent himself with the look and the music and some of the promos. They kept the two of them away from each other. I mean, we went weeks until Ambrose finally really did speak. And even still, we were still haven't got a full explanation. But nonetheless, you have this blood feud, as they call it.
Right.
And they went out there and wrestled like they were the opening match of just like some throwaway show. I mean, like, rest holds and this is the match where you need Seth Rollins getting out of the ring and running the aisleway, and they meet in the aisleway and start brawling. I mean, so the only thing I can think is unless the two of them and whoever was agent the match with them, unless they were of the understanding of, hey, we got a long way to go, so let's not blow our load, for lack of better phrasing, in this match, unless that was what was in their mind and wasn't and there was a miscommunication between them and what Vince had in mind. I don't know, but yeah, I don't blame Vince for being furious. If I'm him, and this is one of your marquee matches, and you put a lot of TV time behind these two, that was not what I want to see. The only good thing I can say about the match, really overall, is I like the fact they at least protect. Ambrose got the win when he needed to, but I like the fact they protected his finishing move. In this day and age where we get finishers over and over and over, he hit Dirty Deeds once, done, and I think that's important. If we're reestablishing Dean Ambrose and he needed a win, he got the win. Making his finishing move a double arm DDT essentially be credible. That was the way to do it. But otherwise, everything that led up to that, I don't understand it.
Yeah, you're right. The first thing I noticed when this match started was they locked up, right? They didn't start going at each other's jugular like that. I mean, they started with a lockup, and that really, you can talk to a lot of different. We're going to talk to Bully Ray here later about in-ring psychology. Like you say, that's not what people wanted between these two. They wanted to see some clobber in here. They wanted to see. I mean, like you said, they brought up their friend's cancer as part of this. Seth Rollins should want to murder this man. How are you going collar elbow here to start the bout? That didn't make a whole lot of sense. And how do you get to that point? I mean, this is Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins in a marquee match that Vince McMahon obviously has some stake in here. Who's not telling these guys, go out there and beat the piss out of each other? This is a blood feud.
Yeah, again, I don't know where the miscommunication is. I can only assume that maybe that was, obviously Ambrose and Rollins are veterans of the business. Certainly they're smart enough, I think, to know that, okay, at this stage, with this kind of build-up, you want to have a certain type of match. So I have to believe that maybe they were communicated something different. The other thing about the match too, I thought the match was too long, and that may not be again on them. That's whatever. If they were given on a run sheet, you need to fill this amount of time, then you got to fill that amount of time. But I also think with a match like this, for the first time they're meeting in this blood feud, I would have rather have been not super short, but shorter, and let Ambrose get it, just one upper hand via a dirty tactic, and then hits Dirty Deeds, and that be it. Save the long, let the matches get longer as it goes. I thought for the incorrect styles we're talking about, the lockups and all that kind of stuff, for the style of that match, I thought it was way too long.
Well, and also, is this a case of just like the character's too confusing for the audience? I get that a little bit with not as much with Daniel Bryan, definitely with Ambrose here, because he talks in this really weird way. It's very heady, right? You're talking to kids and families and stuff. They know they don't like this guy, right? But do they really know why they don't like this guy? It's a little bit. I don't know if he just goes over the heads a little bit of the audience they're playing to with the way he presents himself. No,
I think you're onto something there. I don't think I can concisely tell you why he has turned his back on Seth Rollins, other than he hates the smell of certain cities.
Yeah, exactly.
It is. It's almost a little bit of the Bray Wyatt problem of too much riddle talk. Eventually, you just need to just tell me in plain frick English, like what you're trying to say. I think that's been a problem that's plagued Dean Ambrose in a singles run when he's not been with the Shield. And again, I'm still a Dean Ambrose fan, but I do think that he's underperformed as a single star, in my opinion. I want to see him succeed. I think Ambrose has almost tried to overthink things or work on being too different. I remember doing an interview with Dean Ambrose some years ago. I'll have to find the audio and then re-release it via my podcast. And I remember, and he stayed very much in character, or purposely tried to be very aloof. And I tried to talk to him about his entrance, and he was just very you almost would have thought he was drunk. He was very, it's all a matter of whatever I'm feeling, right? It's just dude, just give me a straight answer. It was almost like he was trying to work me too hard.
Mm-hmm. He's a germaphobe, right? That's the thing. We had this conversation the other day on the podcast. It's maybe you just should be more blunt. Where it's just I don't like being dirty, right? Do they need to be that blunt for the kids, the audiences, maybe to connect with it a little bit more? Well, let's switch gears here. Obviously, that match didn't click. There was a hell of a main event here, the TLC match. Asuka, Charlotte, Becky. In the end, Ronda Rousey would come out, tip the ladder over, knocking Charlotte and Becky out of the bout. Asuka comes out on top. Let's chat a bit about this year. This was almost exactly what I wanted. I didn't anticipate Ronda Rousey getting involved the way she did, but I thought it worked really well.
Yeah, this match certainly did what it had to do in the placement that it was on the show. I had said all week leading up to this match, I said whatever happens in the outcome is going to definitively tell us what we need to know about WrestleMania for the individuals involved, and more than likely Ronda Rousey. And that's exactly what happened. I think it's very clear. How they do it, there could be some avenues, whether they go a Rumble 94 Brett Lex type of situation of there's maybe a tie of both Charlotte and Becky winning the Rumble, or however they get to it. I think it's pretty clear they've set the case that we're going to have WrestleMania, a triple threat between Charlotte, Ronda, and Becky, which I really haven't heard a negative reaction from anybody, and that's hard to do in today's age. And then Asuka, of course, now she's got a title, so certainly it's been a big lull since from last year's Rumble when she won, and then all through 2018 she had certainly a lull. But I guess it's never too late, and I don't think they've damaged her too much. And as you've said over and over, people still very much behind her, even prior to this title win. So they might be able to right the little wrongs they've done in 2018 just in time here.
It's fascinating because before people were saying, oh, well, Becky and Ronda, that's the WrestleMania main event. And then Charlotte comes in, and Charlotte reestablishes herself, and everyone's like, well, you know what? Maybe let's make it a triple threat. These three could all work together. Asuka comes in here now. She's got the title, and arguably, I think has put herself on the same playing field as these women here. I don't know exactly if you go a fatal four-way or how you wrap all this stuff before WrestleMania, who wins the Rumble, all those kinds of things. But it is fascinating that you have four really three-dimensional, engaging characters in the women's division right now. I mean, wrap it up 2018. There's absolutely nothing better in WWE right now than what these four are doing. And I would hate to see Asuka just become a transitional champion. Maybe Charlotte takes the belt off her and she goes back to something else. That's initially what I thought. At this point, seeing it on TV, I don't want Asuka kind of fade into black.
For 2018, that had its first ever Women's Rumble, had the debut of Ronda Rousey, had the Evolution pay-per-view, and I know there's probably a few other first of type matches that I'm forgetting here. What a way to cap off 2018, right, for the women. You got depth here. I guess my only worry, and it's just the nature of having such talent on the one hand, is if you do have Ronda versus Becky versus Charlotte, whoever Asuka works, assuming Asuka's still champion at WrestleMania, whoever Asuka's title match is definitely obviously going to get overshadowed. It's not going to get the focal point, and that's just because the three other ladies in the other match are just going to be such strong presence. But nonetheless, good problem to have.
Hey, what was the WrestleMania where they had the fatal four-way where there was a McMahon in each corner? Was that WrestleMania 2000?
WrestleMania 2000, yeah.
Okay. Let's switch gears here a little bit. We'll roll over to SmackDown here and Raw. Obviously on Raw, first of all, Raw's had a lag in the ratings. They were up 16% this week. Obviously, the McMahons were back. The McMahons coming out promising a fresh start for McMahons. What if they each picked a woman, right? Maybe we could just rehash WrestleMania 2000. You got Triple H and Asuka's corner, right? The NXT, maybe he's in Charlotte's. I don't know. Anyway, that's a terrible idea. The McMahons did come back. They're offering a fresh start. According to WrestleVotes, which has become quite a source here in the world of pro wrestling, Vince McMahon did not want to return to WWE TV. I am surprised by that because he looked like he was having a good time. And we did chat about this a bit the other day. But to me, the more I think about it, it just does seem like a Band-Aid. Like they didn't really fix a whole lot. I mean, they took a couple old toys off the shelf and they threw them into the mix. But this didn't feel like a reinvention of the wheel, what we got here. And knowing the next 2 weeks are taped, I don't think we're going to get, really much of a further continuance of whatever they're doing here for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, first off, 100%, I do believe that that report of that Vince, did not want to come back to TV. I use this analogy on my podcast that came out this morning, Wrestling Reality, and I use the analogy of basically what it kind of, I mean, the true scale to judge this is going to be, we have to give, like I said, we have to give it a month or two, but just in the immediate of this week, what it feels like is we, the audience, are the parents, and the McMahons are the misbehaved kids. And they realize they've misbehaved so badly, and we've had low ratings, and now us parents are very disappointed in them. So now they're real quickly trying to be real nice. They're trying to speak in a nice tone, suck up, say I love you a few more times. They're trying to get back in the good graces until we drop our guard, and then we'll see if they start misbehaving again.
They're going to start knocking more plates and glasses off the countertop, is what you're saying, right? They're like, oh, all right, then you walk over, boom. Of all the things that happened on Raw and SmackDown. And I made a list here of some of the things that are part of the new fresh start WWE. We no longer have automatic title rematches, right? We no longer have Paige as the SmackDown GM. WTF, that wasn't like an issue, Justin. Like nobody was complaining about Paige as the GM.
Well, unless she's going to break up Shane's marriage and marry Shane McMahon. She's not a McMahon, so she can't be in charge.
Oh, man. Well, she could go the Miz route and just go insane and convince yourself you're a McMahon.
If this was a few years ago, Vince would have her himself marry her, and that's how she'd be a McMahon.
There you go. Yeah, it's I'll take a pause here for a second and we can talk about Paige, because with Paige being removed as GM, Paige was not an issue. Nobody's complaining about Paige as the GM. It does make me feel like whatever we're moving into with the McMahons is going to have some kind of power struggle feel to it, right? You got to get rid of the authority characters. Baron's gone, Paige is gone. Now the McMahons are in charge. Whatever's brewing here has got to be some kind of power struggle angle, I would think, going on with the McMahons, right?
You assume, right? And the fact that they're more and more open to acknowledging whether it's Triple H in the suit with the fictitious role of COO, or whether it's Triple H as the wrestler in DX. He wears the NXT patch on his ring gear when he goes to the ring. If he's in a suit, he's labeled as the mastermind behind NXT. And now we're seeing this random surge of more NXT talent that's going to come to Raw and SmackDown in the immediate future, which is unusual timing, since they usually save that for April. So you would think that the obvious is that Vince in his early 70s that you only at some point you'd think capitalize on what your general fan base kind of wonders and thinks might happen, which is, well, one day when Vince is not around, it's going to go to Triple H in terms of the booking aspect. So why not let that play out on air? I mean, you might as well do it, right? So you would think that this is the start of that, and maybe it culminates to WrestleMania, and I don't know how or what format they do it, but that would be the logical thing, because all four of them just can't remain all happy-go-lucky, happy to see each other for too long. They're the McMahons; they never all get along. So
yeah, and it was, and that's the thing is I have to keep reminding myself it was a starting point, right? Like they announced this fresh start thing. I want to give it a chance. I want to see where it's going. But as I'm looking at where the pieces are falling here, it does seem like we're probably going to have a power struggle here on the horizon, for better or worse. And I hadn't really thought about how this was maybe a longer version of the passing of the torch between Vince and Hunter. But if that is the case, that's a really smart thing you said, and I would hope that that's the direction they're going.
Well, it goes back to what I said. I totally believe that Vince wants to keep himself off TV. I think he'd like to think that his days on TV are behind him. Obviously, for at least the immediate, that he's there. But I think if he could turn over and let Stephanie Triple H truly be the authority that we see on TV moving forward, he's always going to be involved behind the scenes until the day he dies. But I think if he could let the audience interpret and say, okay, there's no more Vince on screen anymore. It is all now Triple H and Stephanie. They're the ones that are running the company day to day, especially with the XFL coming. And maybe we think that so I think this is the timing. If you're going to do it, if you're going to do the passing of the torch, this is the time.
Who's going to Vince right now and is like, I've got a story, and it's like, I don't want to do it. And they're like, do this story. That seems like the hardest sell in the world. It's like selling a car to a homeless man or something, like, how do you do it?
Well, I'm sure that's not some new idea that just popped up this week. I'm sure it's something that's been, a draft tucked away for a while. And I'd have to imagine it's probably some of the people that have the most intimate rapport with Vince that can speak to him the most honestly behind closed doors, and have kind of wore him down. It could be anything from whether Kevin Dunn says we should do it, or whether it's Triple H and Stephanie themselves, whether it's Shane, whether it's lead writers like Road Dogg or Dave Kapoor or Ed Cobb, just anybody, any of the guys and girls that have been around for a while that can just speak honestly to even a Pat Patterson, who still is always seems like he's around consulting at random times. So I think anybody who could kind of just wear Vince down slowly and say it makes sense. Vince is all about doing whatever truly whatever really. He'll do whatever to himself on air if it makes sense for television. So
yeah, I guess. And it was interesting though, the use of the McMahons on Raw and SmackDown. Like I brought up the other day, Vince was largely just at the top of the show on Raw. He was more like a cast member on SmackDown. I don't mind that if they're going to use him as just like a fun part of the show and he does fun stuff here and there. I guess it's just, I don't know where it's going. I don't know. Is that it? It just feels like a Band-Aid. It doesn't feel like there's a long-term thought. It doesn't feel like there's a plan here.
I want to see the next dance break between R-Truth and Carmella. Vince just pop out with him and start doing the dance break.
Man loves to dance.
Could you imagine the video and how much it'd be worth to if they had the cameras rolling during rehearsal or during some fun stint backstage of Carmella trying to teach Vince how to floss?
Oh my God. That'd probably be one of the most viral videos they put on YouTube is Vince McMahon learning to floss.
What a gif that would be.
Oh God. And they're like, we're going to teach you to floss. He's like, I'm very hygienic. I know how to floss. another part of the fresh start here from the McMahons, not just power struggle differences. Oh, wait, before I get off the power struggle thing here, Baron Corbin was fired on Monday Night Raw, or was relieved of his general manager duties. You had to have noticed that guy is getting more heat right now than anybody in WWE. How do you throw this guy into the void, knowing that this guy can come out at any given moment and everybody hates this man? To me, if I'm Baron Corbin, I'm the big winner of the last like 2 months of bad Raw booking, 2-3 months. This guy's the top heel of the company.
He is, and I'm always I'm a big supporter and a big, I represent the value. I recognize the value, I should say, very much of heat. I think people today in today's age get too caught up in, well, it's go away heat, and nobody wants to see, and they want every heel. They want to like every heel to think that heel's doing a good job. They want the heel to do cool moves, and I'm like, you have gotten so far away from what a heel is supposed to be. So he does have a lot of heat, and but I will say though, obviously a lot of that heat just came because he was the authority figure getting to push around all of the baby faces. So if he goes back to being Baron Corbin, just a wrestler, I would hope for his sake some of the heat still transfers and people just remember that people know him now better than they did when he was just a wrestler, and that they will take the time to boo him more. I hope that still happens, but I don't know. I wonder if maybe the best thing is to maybe give him a few weeks off. He certainly has carried a lot of segments on Raw. Give him a few weeks off. Maybe even give him a little stint in NXT. Maybe just somehow just to cool things down before you find something new to bring him back into Raw or SmackDown. Because anything he does next in Raw or SmackDown is going to seem weird after he's been quote unquote in control. I thought it was
a misstep. For me, I liked Corbin in that role because I agree with you. It is so hard to get that kind of heat. You got to appreciate that when you've got it. They realized that with Vicky Guerrero, and she was like a staple. She was like the heat magnet for years, just doing her thing. I thought about that opening Raw segment, and I know they all did the little huddle, and then they decided that Baron was going to fight Kurt, and then all those other things happened. But if out of nowhere Vince had just been like, well, fine, you want to be permanent GM, beat this man, and brings out Kurt Angle, and then he beats Kurt Angle and becomes permanent GM, that's I don't know. That's a hook for me, right? Like, I want to see this guy fall from power. They just threw it away, right? They got rid of it. And to me, I don't know. That I thought that was a big misstep, but we'll see where it goes. I don't know where you go with this guy. I think he's got to continue his thirst for power. That's like his modus operandi, right? Is Baron Corbin trying to get power, and there's so many different ways you can go about that. I think it would be a bummer. I know Lucha House Party seems dead. They buried that thing on TV this week. I hope that Baron Corbin doesn't get thrown into the same pile as them. I guess. Well, that's what I mean. So probably the best thing for him is, like I said, get a few weeks off. Maybe an NXT stint, just something. The NXT audience always passionate. Send him as a heel down there for a couple shows, a couple weeks of taping. And maybe that'll just pick things back up. Why take him off TV? He's so hot right now. I don't know. Well, like I said, it might be an odd transfer. It might be if all of a sudden now he's back. And now if he goes back to his ring gear and he's just Baron Corbin the wrestler, it just might be like, I don't know. I would keep him away. I would give some time to let this breathe. Speaking of NXT, also part of the new Fresh Start initiative is there's going to be a lot of new fresh faces. We've got 6 NXT stars. They're going to be coming up to WWE's main roster. Lars Sullivan, EC3, Tony Storm, Heavy Machinery, Nikki Cross. We've also got some superstars that are getting a fresh coat of paint. The Revival won their tag match. Tyler Breeze came out and faced off against was it Seth Rollins? Yeah. Answered Seth Rollins' challenge on Monday Night Raw. And then, of course, Mustafa Ali on top, pinning WWE champion Daniel Bryan. Good. Oh, and, of course, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn also coming back. That's a lot of names coming up to the main roster. How do you find spots for all these guys? Some people I would imagine are going to be going away here at the top of the year would be my guess. Yeah, I mean, and again, truly, this is the time. For years, Triple H has talked about it to us about making NXT being legitimately a third brand. It's no more should we say the main roster, no more should we say call up or whatever. It truly should be. This is just a third brand. It's on the same playing field. Slightly different rules in the way they do their shows, maybe, but this is the time where it has to be truly a two-way street. If they're going to bring some new names in to freshen up Raw and SmackDown, which are still obviously the focal points of the company,
then some of those, I mean, then either you got to either release talent or you let some of the talent go to next. I mean, you truly got to make this now a two-way street, because they're going to bring some of these new names. I mean, again, and the bad thing is, again, this is why I say we have to wait a month or two to really judge this. But it's like part of the fix they feel shaking things up is bringing this new talent from NXT. And it's like, no, it's not a matter of having new faces. It's a matter of don't bring these 6 new faces and then do nothing with them, or that you do something with them for 3 weeks and then they fall off. It's like you got to have consistency. Yeah, I mean, either some talent's going to get released or some talent's going to be relegated to just live event house shows, or again, move some talent to NXT.
Yeah, because I agree. You got to have stuff for these people to do. I think EC3 is a layup here. This guy never should have been in NXT, in my opinion. He is a main roster guy. He seems like completely in tune with the style and tone that Vince McMahon likes. I think that guy's going to break out. Lars Sullivan is like a beast on his own. Does kind of undercut the vignettes they've been airing for a couple of weeks to have him lumped in, I think, with this other talent here. But there's a lot to like here with these new faces. I'm a big fan of Ali on top. I just can't help but think, what do you do with this talent? Because they're in a situation now where they can't be firing people and releasing them because there's too many places for them to go, get reheated up, and become stars again, right? So I think you're right. I think you're in this weird spot where it's like, well, there's talent here we're not using. We don't want to fire them so they can give value elsewhere. So maybe you do send them down to NXT. Maybe you create a different show on the network. I don't know. You know?
Well, yeah. I think we're going to see some changes to NXT anyways in the next year. I think between you know, and the other thing I think we have to also remember is, you know, okay, so now they have like, you know, the UK show. Well, there shouldn't be anything that it shouldn't be. Okay, the UK show is only for UK. I mean, who's to say you can't send some Americans over to that show? I mean, like, you know, I think they have enough properties. I think the streets just need to be more two ways. I think NXT, when Fox takes SmackDown, look, if Fox is now going to be expecting Friday night programming at SmackDown, well, once you get around to Mania weekend, they're probably not going to do a live SmackDown that 2 days before Mania. So I would see them probably putting TakeOver live on Fox, which TakeOver is being moved to Friday anyways this year. So, like, you know, I think we're going to see some changes in the programming for NXT anyways, and that might again be part of the solution, which is, can't believe we're saying this, but we need more programming.
That's incredible. I hadn't even thought about the idea that they would put TakeOver on Fox on Friday.
I think they will.
Wow, that's
not for this year, obviously, but for 2020.
Yeah, for 2020. That's a really cool idea. Interesting. And by then they could also have it figured out and do a SmackDown show. But I like that TakeOver idea a lot. Another name that looks to be back in the mix here soon. Pro Wrestling or PW Insider reporting that Bray Wyatt could be returning to WWE TV soon. He's set to do non-TV WWE live events next week on the WWE holiday tour. And he also just tweeted a goodbye tweet, a little Pete Davidson-y of him there that got some eyebrows raised. We chatted a bit about it yesterday, but again, I think just like everybody else, where do you find a spot for Bray Wyatt right now, right? It's not just about bringing Bray back. You got to have something for him to do. And what do you do with this guy? What's the hook? What's the story for Bray Wyatt if you bring him back, Justin?
I don't know. He seems to be cutting promos like he's reinventing himself. I don't know if it's a change in music. I don't know if it's what's old is new again. Go back to the Wyatt family. Go back to some of the shenanigans that first were successful. I'm not sure what it is. He's another one, kind of like the Dean Ambrose, very talented in the ring. So very, I mean, you know, just a lot of skills to offer, but a lot of riddle and rhyme that at the end of the day hasn't meant much overall. So I'm not sure. I don't know what to expect, which in a way is a little exciting. They will be here in Pittsburgh a week from Saturday to tape SmackDown that's going to air on New Year's Day. So I'll be interested to see if he shows up on camera or shows up, you know, for a dark match and see what he looks like, see what he's doing, see what the music is, see if he cuts a promo. So I'll definitely let you know.
Maybe him and Dean Ambrose could get together and do like a Batman-styled cartoonish villain stable, where like him and Dean, where Dean's like Bane and they're up in like a castle and like a cave somewhere. Anyway, think about it. So yeah, let's one of the names we're not going to see back in the mix here. It sounds like Sports Illustrated sat down, chatted with John Cena this past week. He said his time is up. Someone else's time is now. What a great guy. What a great line. Yeah, I saw a report that he's not going to be coming back to WWE TV with his next run either. So John Cena, this is it. This is the thing he said he was never going to do, which was like transition out to Hollywood, become too cool for school. I feel like that's what he's doing now.
Yeah, if you he does so many of them, but if you closely track his interviews over the past few years, he continues to move. You know, a couple of years ago it was I'm WWE for life. I mean, granted, he's always going to be part of the WWE family. He's never going to be he's never going to be excommunicated. But you know, I'm WWE for life. I'm full time. You know, obviously, you know, notably bashed The Rock years ago in the promo. And then he moved. And he said, "All right, well, I'm sorry about the things I said to Rock. I understand it is tough to juggle, and I'm always here, but I'm getting older." And then it becomes, well, you know, I can't wrestle because these movie studios, and then because of the insurance, because if I get hurt, I might delay a movie, and then it's really somebody else's time. Like it seems like he is pulling his chips out at every interview. But at the same time, who can blame the guy? He's put in all of his time for WWE, you know, in the ring for years. You know, he's earned his money there. Why not go film a movie for a couple months and make several million and not have to take bumps and but still being able to be a brand ambassador essentially for the company. I mean, so I don't blame him. I mean, and it does need to be somebody else's time. The problem is he has to come back and truly give that rub to somebody.
It does seem a little bit like there may be something to I mean, I don't know. He didn't do the Saudi show, and I know that maybe a publicist got in his ear and told him to do that. It couldn't have been his choice, but he does seem to have a certain moral compass these days where he's talking more outspokenly. I don't know what that relationship is like, right? I will say this. Every time I think about where John Cena's at right now, I can't help but think about Hulk Hogan, Thunder in Paradise, just happened to be down the street from another wrestling promotion. And it was like, hey, I haven't done that wrestling thing in a while. I'm not super happy with Vince. Yeah, maybe me as the white meat babyface all-time big guy in WWE. What if I came to your promotion and became a bad guy? I bet we could make a whole lot of money together.
No, I don't. Again, you're not going to see. He's always going to. No, he's always going to be a WWE guy. He's always going to be a WWE guy.
That's what they said about Hulk, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, granted, I was young, but granted, I mean, okay. So Hulk left in '93. Hulk, I don't know. I think it was a different situation. I think Hulk left WWE. He was truly kind of done. You know, he thought he was done with wrestling. Cena might be done taking bumps on a really regular basis, but he's never going to be apart from the brand of WWE. He's always going to be attached to that.
I don't know, man. Money talks, right? This guy's not under a contract. They're all freelancers. You know?
Who else is going to be able? Who else in the world is going to be able to compensate him as well as WWE has compensated him over the years? And him being on WWE is still what helps get him movie bits. And now his Hollywood career will start to take off in its own right. But he's not leaving WWE.
If you had the money to like run an NFL franchise, right? Like that's a lot of money. I don't know if there would be anybody who is running an NFL franchise that would be interested in a wrestling promotion right now. But
you're fishing. You're fishing.
Am I?
You're fishing.
I'm a prognosticator. I was born on Groundhog's Day. I just see the future, Justin. And I learned from history. It screams to me similar circumstances. I don't know if it'll go that way, but
listen, Nostradamus Jr., you might have a good track record, but this one is not going to be. He's not leaving WWE in any capacity.
Thanks for calling me Nostradamus and not Nostradamus. That was nice. I kind of thought there was going to be a little jab there. We'll switch gears here a little bit out of WWE. We do have some interviews here for you all listening to the podcast. We'll get to those here in just a moment. But Ring of Honor, like we said, big weekend for them. Final battle. It sounds like they've got a couple big new signings as well. Bandito and Mark Haskins were both just announced this past week. Bandito tore the house down at All In and has been tearing it up on the independent scene. I haven't seen enough of this guy. Great signing by Ring of Honor because I'm excited to see more from him.
He's young too. Early 20s.
Is he? I have no idea. This man could be 500 years old. He hides behind that mask. I have no idea anything about Bandito.
I think I don't know much about him either. So I'm going to be learning more about him here coming in. But I'm pretty sure I know I have some Lucha Libre enthusiasts and obviously people that work in the business who do Lucha Libre and they all rave about him. And I know he's a young guy, so it's he's moving fast.
Good for I'm loving everything I've seen from him. I mean, what a freak of nature. He's like Flip Gordon. It's like, how did you learn to do that? Great signing. Haskins also a great signing. It was already announced last week. PCO and Brody King had signed with Ring of Honor. Now we know what they're going to be doing. They debuted at the TV tapings the night after Final Battle alongside Marty Scurll as part of Villain Enterprises. I chatted. I'm not releasing it this week. We're going to release it next week, right after the holidays. So come back next week on the WINCLY. But I talked to PCO. I talked to him yesterday. I interviewed him for about half an hour, all about this new endeavor with him and Brody King and Villain Enterprises. And this seems like a perfect fit for that guy and Brody. I think this is Ring of Honor is making some really, really smart moves right now, and I don't know that they're being given enough credit. But I like this pairing a lot.
Yeah, and good for PCO. I talked about this a little bit this week. What a cool story. I mean, it's one thing when you see a wrestler who, the Randy the Ram story, right? A wrestler who was at the top, falls down, goes away for a while, and then comes back and reinvents himself. PCO was never, he was a low mid carder at best throughout his time in WWF and WCW. So the fact that this guy he's gonna be, I think, 51 at the end of this year, or the end of this month. And he's probably not going to get a WWE run. I don't think he's WWE style and a lot of things.
He talked to him.
But nonetheless, just good for him to be able to have reinvented himself, is in phenomenal shape, is kind of owning his character, is kind of this mystique and the workout regimens and everything. I mean, good for him. This is a cool story, and I'll definitely be checking that interview out because this is a really cool story.
A couple things I will confirm out of the interview. Yeah, he does confirm he talked to WWE.
Okay.
And because I said, your PCO, you're very popular right now on the internet. Ring of Honor can't have been the only place you talked to. He said he talked to somebody from WWE, but they didn't offer him anything creative wise. They just offered him a contract, and he was like, well, what am I going to do? And they're like, you're going to work for us. And he's like, that doesn't sound like a plan, right? And so he turned down the WWE offer, and he signed with Ring of Honor because he really put over how they let the talents have input in their creative, and that was big for him. So for those of you that are wondering if he weighed those options, I can confirm to you he did. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, which makes sense because I know that through his time in WWF and then WCW, and then I think he even had a brief stint back there. I know creative was a huge problem with him. So in terms of just never amounted to much. So it's good for him to have learned from the past and sticking to his guns.
Also, it's interesting because I brought up the Madison Square Garden show because I was like, oh, you're getting to go back to the Garden. And he kind of flippantly, and again, we'll play it next week. I don't want to give the whole interview away, but he kind of flippantly was like, oh yeah, I've headlined the Garden against Bret Hart, right? Because him and Bret had the 95, right? 94, 95. And it dawned on me in that moment, and I don't say it in the interview, but he's probably, outside of Bully, the only member of the Ring of Honor roster that could be performing at this G1 Supercard show to have ever played the Garden before.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild? Isn't that wild? That's crazy.
Wild. Do you know, I'm not necessarily saying him, well, I guess I will say him. Do you have any idea what Ring of Honor is paying some of these guys to lock them down these exclusive contracts? Because he used to, because they're making moves, and for him to decide, okay, I'm not going to take it's probably his last big chance to get a contract in his career at almost 51. So I'm curious to what kind of financial, besides creative input, what kind of financial stake Ring of Honor is getting these guys.
He didn't give me a number, and I feel like I'm giving the interview. It's very nice. There's a lot more.
Now I'm all interested.
It's fine. We'll release it next week. Good hype, I guess. But I asked him about what the details of his contract were. In particular, the way it gets brought up in the interview is we were talking about how MLW took his leaving because MLW was really building around him, right? And he had to cancel his bookings. And he said that MLW pays on a per night basis, per appearance basis, and that's not the deal he got with Ring of Honor. So whatever deal he's getting with Ring of Honor is it's a salary position.
Guarantee, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's a guaranteed money position for him. So I don't know what the number is, but it was a number that was enough to offset, I would guess, the money he's making on the independents plus some. Which is you could run the numbers in your head. I don't want to speculate.
Yeah, I have a guess now you said that, so that's good. Good for him.
Yeah, but he's getting a guaranteed amount, and he definitely made a point to say how he thought that Ring of Honor, he liked that Ring of Honor was a bigger company that could provide him that, and he didn't want to work for a smaller company that was not able to do that for him. So, wow, what a tease! Next week, tune in PCO. Okay. Lastly, here on the Ring of Honor news, as we're wrapping this up, Wrestling Observer reporting that WWE is interested in Dalton Castle. Not a surprise. I think that's been known for a while now. Dalton did lose to Matt Taven at ROH's Final Battle.
Yeah, Dalton, I worked with Dalton for a lot of years here in the Pittsburgh area. He did a lot of work here. He was our IWC champion at one point. I've, been a really talented guy. I'm happy to hear that, whether he ends up at WWE or not, I'm happy to hear that everybody's interested in Dalton Castle because he's a real talented guy. Obviously he's got amateur wrestling pedigree, but you know, I mean, this is a guy who was a DJ at a radio station. I mean, he's just got such a gift for just creativity, whether it's the gift for gab, whether it's just visual things. I mean, he's one of the most creative people I've ever met. So, you know, the party peacock at Dalton Castle, I'm happy to hear that he's, you know, this should be a good year for him.
I saw his one-man show. He did a Dalton Castle comedy show here in Chicago, and his special guest was Matt Taven. And I thought about that as I watched them beat the living hell out of each other. Lastly here, in the news segment, Chris Jericho announced he's going to be doing another Cruise of Jericho. The who, what, where, when, and why are going to be coming out in January. But for those of you that are looking to set sail, Jericho's cruise is going to be setting sail one more time. Good for him. Chris Jericho continuing to branch out. This guy does everything. Now he's got a successful cruise line. Let's
call Raj and let's book a Wrestling Inc. Retreat on the Jericho cruise.
Dude, I'm not gonna. I'm with you, man. I want to be there. You know, I called Raj yesterday after the PCO interview, and I was like, dude, we got to go to the Garden and we got to like follow PCO around. Like, we got to get the story. So we got to track the Jericho cruise this time around as well. We will do that. All right. Thank you all very much for watching Justin and I live here on the YouTube channel for WINCLY Live. For those of you that are listening now on the podcast version over on iTunes, and I encourage you all that are watching us live and listening live right now to go subscribe to Wrestling Inc. Audio and listen to the full version of the WINCLY. You can re-listen to Justin and I here or skip ahead about 40 minutes to get to the interviews because I did interview Bully Ray for about an hour. We talk. He is so frank. This is not a traditional Bully Ray interview. It is all shoot. It is no kayfabe. You're going to love it. I will say that he called me from an unknown number, and I was like, how do I connect with you so that we could do this interview? And he's like, I am connected with you. So I had to like download real quickly a phone call recording app so that I could record the call. It is fine. It's of quality, but it does not sound like Justin and I here right now. But it sounds like a phone call. But you're going to love it. It's great. Listen to that. And then right after that, you're going to get an interview with me and Ring of Honor TV champion Jeff Cobb. It is a little shorter. It's about 20 minutes. And then after Jeff, you're going to get the latest views from the turnbuckle with me and Jesse Collins talking about the matches of the year from 2018. Thanks for tuning in. And I'll be back here at the end of the show with Justin momentarily to wrap it up. And thank you all very much for listening. Isn't that cool how we do the edit live on the air? Or it's like now we're at the end of the show. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Thank you to Bully Ray. Thank you to Jeff Cobb. Justin, you're great. Before I let you do your spiel, we got a spoiler here for the end of the show. So if you don't want to hear a spoiler, you got to turn off the show. Stop listening. Turn off. Go away. Spoiler alert.
Earmuffs.
This was our last news topic. Rusev is now your new U.S. champion. That happened at SmackDown Live on Tuesday night. Good for him. Happy Rusev Day.
Happy Rusev Day.
Yeah, absolutely.
My stockings are hung for Rusev Day.
Good. Justin, where do you want to send people to find you, follow you, all those great things online?
My Wrestling Reality podcast. You can subscribe to it. iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify, anywhere. Google Play Music. Check that out. A lot of fun there. And again, anybody that's going to be in Pittsburgh or for December 29th when they are here to tape SmackDown, I'll be hosting a pre-party at 1311 Bar on East Carson Street from 3 to 6, $2 Miller Lite bottles, $3 Fireballs, $7 Smirnoff Vodka, or $7 Captain Morgan pitchers. 3 to 6, hang out there, then we'll head over to PPG Paints Arena. It's December 29th here in Pittsburgh. Hope to see you.
There is nothing like getting drunk with Justin LaBar. I'm telling you, people. Go do that. Do it. I'm Nick Hausman at Wink Rebel, WINC Rebel over on Twitter. Find me there. Next week we're going to have PCO. For sure will be on the show. I have a couple other interviews. I don't know which ones I'm going to release, so I don't want to tease any more than that. But definitely come back for PCO. Thank you all very much for listening, for tuning in. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it. Goodbye.